Welcome to Rising Stories Podcast. I'm Corine Sandifer, your host, and this episode is sponsored by Amazon. Please use the links provided in the show notes to help keep this podcast going. Today on the show, I have Barbara Lampl. She is a serial entrepreneur with 14 companies to date. She's an associate professor, also in the top 3 in Women in Fintech list of social media ranking of German-speaking countries. She is a behavioral mathematician and is the founder of Empath Business and Feminist Economy, and also an associate professor for data science at 2 different Germany universities. She has consulted over 500 companies around the globe, specializing in sales and business development, and is a regular keynote speaker from Dublin Tech Summit to Demexco, which is the largest marketing conference in the world. Today, some of her time goes into startup mentoring and running Lean In Germany as president since 2013, which is where I met her because she is my Lean In sister from across the globe. Hey, Barbara, thanks so much for joining.
Thank you so much for having me. Yes, Lean In sisters from all around the world. It's so cool.
I know. I love that we have connected when we have met in California, and we are the smart ones who actually buffer between some days, but post and pre and post conference, and get to do some fun things, just kind of chill and hang out and go shopping and visit. And well, I know that you've gone shopping. I'm not a big shopper, but you were like, I've got to stop at this store and this store because this is where I buy this and this. And it's like, it's been so fun to get to know you during those times.
Yeah, it was always great fun. And yes, I have when I'm going to the US, I have like a specialized shopping list because my jeans I'm buying in the US for now years. And every time I'm there, I'm like, okay, that's the list. I have to go to that shop and then I'm done.
Yeah, that's good. That's good that you have a list. So I love that to see what everyone buys. I know there's another Lean In leader who likes to shop at certain places here in the U.S. So that's always fun. But thanks so much for coming on. And I've just been so curious about your life, what you do, your work, where you came from, how you got started, it's one of those, sometimes you meet a person and you're like, wow, she's so fascinating. And I want to know her. And that was an immediate response when I met you. I was like, I need to get to know her. I need to know how she works, what makes her tick, because I feel like there's a learning thing here for me. So that was my attraction to you. I was like, I want to hear more about Barbara. What's going on? Like, how did you get started? Where did you come from? How did you come on to do what you are doing now in that's such an impressive bio?
Yes. Yes. Where did I start from? So I'm originally born and raised in Munich. So Bavaria, Germany is my homehood. I came from I'm a working class family background. So both of my parents didn't study or anything, not even have a high school diploma. But worked their way up. And they provided for me, every opportunity you can think of. So I went to the US as an exchange year. When I was 16, I went to Boston, was a great year, and everything kind of get out of there. I did a hell lot of sports when I was younger, and I was always that very driven child already. Like I wanted to optimize everything. So I early got started in because let's be honest, homework is not the fun part in your day. So I wanted to optimize it. And that's kind of stuff that repeats itself over the time. My classical education, I have a background in math, finance, and psychology. I studied that mainly at the University of Zurich. And started out in financial markets, but I'm always one of these people, and I think that's my working class background. I started working when I was 13. So it's always that I have very parallel lives. And that's, I think, what separates me from some other people, because always did this 2 or 3 things at the same time. So I studied and worked at a bar, and I did my trainee at a Swiss bank. So I always was the person who kind of tried to press in as much in that time, because I'm an awfully noisy person. So I want to know everything and want to go deep dive in everything. And I think that's kind of the story behind what drove me kind of from early on. And it was always on a fun point. It was never driven by my parents or anything. So no, don't have that kind of parents. But they always encouraged that. They always very encouraged that and supported that, also financially. So that was a cool thing to do. And yeah, that's kind of how I ended up in hardcore asset management. So high net worth individuals. So remember, I have a working class background. And then my real first job was my clients had like 50 million in cash and equity and stuff like that. Okay, that's a whole different world that I was coming from and stuff like that. Which it's a fascinating world. It's also a world where you don't have any kind of there are no females in that world. It's just not existing. Yeah, and then back in 2007, I found my first own company and kind of started up from there, doing that over the years, yearly, again and again and again. Till we now mainly running on the operative side, 2 consulting companies, one empathic business, and the other feminist economy, which is even a more global scale, a more impactful thing. That's how I ended up where I am, kind of.
Yeah, tell me about your business. It's called Empath. The empath business that you do, is it consulting small businesses, large businesses?
No, empathic business is specialized in small businesses. So we're really specialized in very small businesses. So empathic business has a very niche product. So we're normally working with solopreneurs till up to 50 persons employed. And what we normally do is there's also digital backend. So you can we have digital coursework and stuff like that. But it's classically that market isn't consulted on that high level, because if you're bigger, if you're a really big company, you go to the big names and then you have a good consultant at your side. But in the small niche market where you have like a solopreneur or you have like on a small business, like 5 or 6 employees, you normally don't get that high-end consultancy stuff. So you have much more of a coaching approach, which normally don't helps you out in a certain kind of degree. If you're like, let's say your business is it's working, but you really want to make a profit out of it. You want to grow it. And then you kind of stuck who to go there for a growth strategy. I have 5 employees. I cannot pay you millions of bucks to build me a growth strategy. And that's kind of where we come in. So empathic business provides that as a classical consulting agency with a little bit of a twist. And that's why it's called empathic business. Because it's built, every strategy we build is based on human behavior and human-centered. Because what most people don't realize, if you have a small company, it's much more always immediately family business, because you have probably you're a single mom and you cannot spend the same time as someone who is married and I don't know, whatever. So it's not the same. And that's where the approach comes in. So empathic business is really specialized in that grows and sustainable, economically sustainable business strategies for small companies. Yeah, that's what we have been doing now for nearly 5 years now, yes. No, 6 years. That's totally not true. For over 6 years. Oh, God.
Wow, that's a long time. That's good. That's good. And do you, are you just solo or do you have a group?
No. I have employees. Team? I have employees. I have classical employees. I have freelancers working for us. We're on over depending on how many projects I'm in, because there's empathic business and there's feminist economy. If you look at both companies as a whole, I think then the back end, there are around 150 people who we are providing on different kind of work, how we work with them, but we're not that small anymore. Because we're working international in parts, we're working with big client groups in that stuff. So yeah, that's kind of the scale I can think of.
Yeah. What's your favorite part about working with your clients?
Honestly, the impact, because it's, I consulted big companies and really high-end names, and they would look good on a resume. But in the end, it's kind of, you develop a strategy and then you have a CEO there sitting and it's like, yes, thank you for the talk, and you go home and nothing happens. But if you have a small business, which you kind of, I don't know, you make it profitable, so they go out of your tax year and have really literally cash in their bank. It's driving them. It's so impactful on the whole family situation, on the whole community situation. And that's where we're hard in it. It's literally when you getting mails I can now pay for that or that, and we have a certain degree of freedom. That's literally where the fun in is. And especially it's not like that you would think it's so specialized. It's so many different kind of businesses which is in that room. They're sometimes very local, otherwise are totally digital. And that's what you see, that impact. And people are really want to implement the strategies. It's not that they're stuck on, yeah, great, we pay a good. Yeah, they not. When I was consulting big companies, it was like, okay, we pay the nerd, which was me. We pay the nerd and we say, okay, we got the nerd, but we don't do anything with it because they weren't in the position to do it. While with small companies, it's such a pleasure when you see it works and when they come back to you and they really circle back to you and like giving you feedbacks after a month or years, and like, you will not believe, like, yes, we worked on that. Yes, but it's so cool. And yeah, that's honestly, that's the most fun in it.
Yeah. So just kind of making an impact and changing people's lives, changing their businesses. Yeah. As a coach, I work with, executives and small business owners to help them with their leadership abilities, their carrying the team as a leader. And, I feel, I'm giving pep talks and, kind of sharing, pulling out some of those qualities in them. And it's so fun to see how they grow, how they grow with, as a leader and as an owner. And then they start what's great is that they don't even tell me, but I notice that they're starting to make those decisions. As a result of our coaching time, they're making like big people decision, they've grown up and they're making these decisions and you're like, you go, girl. Like I can see how that, for you as well is very rewarding.
It's literally exceptional, and especially if you see it always like and what I think is so incredible, if you see the economic impact you can have on people's lives, where they literally grow into economic degrees of freedom and stuff like that, and it's always like. If they're not in a crisis mode, you probably not see that, but getting, especially in that time, and now we're talking feedback that they're well settled, that they don't have to think like of any economical downfall or so. That's kind of cool where like, okay, it's kind of reassuring what you're doing. And that's always, literally, that's kind of the smile on the faces and these light bulb moments and these eyes who have another light to it. That's kind of what I'm working for, to be honest. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. So you and I met through Lean In, and you run Lean In Germany.
Yes.
And tell me a little bit more about how that got started, your circle, your network, and what you guys are doing now.
Yeah. So we got started that I can't remember the weird reason. My parents had the Time magazine at home, and Sheryl Sandberg was on the cover. In the pre-launch phase of the book, and was written, "Don't hate her because she's successful." And I was in that position because like I had my own companies, we were quite successful and everything. So everything was like, I got that hate. And I'm like, okay, someone, I can relate to that. Not on that scale, but I can relate in my little world to that. So I grabbed the book, and then there was the idea we go to circles, like, yes, I like a circle, because I was always in that feminist theory in that art and all for financial equality and equal pay. I already did that since my study times when I was 18, so I was already down the road with that. But it all is, if you look at the whole scene in Germany, it's kind of like if you called someone back then a feminist, it was not a nice word to use. It was like the whole different around it. And it was very about like weird discussions and stuff like that. And there was someone who doesn't look like, that sounds now a little bit weird, but who knows how to wear makeup, because like German feminists at that time, if you went in with a bright red lip, you were like, probably you're not feminist enough because you're wearing makeup. Literally that discussion happened, awful enough. So that when I started out and I wanted to join a circle, but there wasn't one. So, because like it started out little by little in the US, and he was like sitting in Germany and like, I want a circle, I want to join a circle. Then no circle around, so I founded the first Lean In Circle in all of Germany, which was the Lean In Circle Cologne. And since we grown quite fast, like from like 10 people to 50, 60 people in that circle, like over weeks, I'm like, okay, and then they popped up with, you can build a chapter. I'm like, okay, then we're now a chapter, now a Lean In Germany chapter. And I grabbed some circles of that. That's kind of how it started out. And over time, we grow into quite a lot of people. So Lean In Germany is around rough 4,500 to 5,000 people all involved, some to certain degrees, and we have some. We already broken up around 1.5 to 2 years ago to more like a digital format. So we also have a very international format, so English speaking formats. If you all grab of that, we're around 10,000 people, but home base Germany around the half of it. And yeah, that's kind of where we are at the moment. Our circles, especially our chapters, are quite big. We're always a little bit struggling, I think, like everyone, like with little circles and people who want to kind of lean in and lead the little circles. That's always a little bit of a struggle from us. But we have a very digital side for like now 2 years, very digital circles. That's helping a hell lot of it. And the next step changed a little bit. 2020 was, we were planning on some more like attending some conferences and stuff and presenting lean in there. That changed a little bit, but we are starting out. We're promoting a big international conference in June already in 2020. So we're going very hard digital and doing that one. Yeah, that's kind of the plan at the moment, growing it in there and making it much more connectable and getting it it's kind of we grown to a degree where we have to get the back end and the back office going again. That's kind of like a little bit of
yeah. Tell me, what's the biggest challenge for women in Germany?
I think the biggest challenge is literally that the like getting work and childcare, and like that's literally the biggest issue. I think that's one of the issues if you have a developed nation like we are. It's kind of that certain degree as like how to get childcare and your career and stuff like that's literally one of the biggest issues. We didn't have like kindergarten wasn't very much used, and you didn't have enough places for that. That's changed just over the last years and stuff like that. So like literally that's one of the biggest hurdles. And if you look at the careers of women, that's showing extremely. It's you see how the drops go in, and I think that's one of the biggest hurdles. And the other thing is, even that we're a very open-minded country, it's always like a little bit behind closed doors. There are still a very old school sometimes how family are organized and who's like making the most of the care work. So we are in that space, and that's of course hurting on the long term, like on equal pay. And that's kind of where we go into. But the main problem is literally like how you handle that stuff together. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah. Is Lean In doing, what are y'all just kind of supporting in that? Are you doing any initiatives to help?
There are quite a lot of initiatives, and we're then sometimes are the supporting powers. But we're also like we always use our voices also on a little bit higher levels. So I was invited, like there was a big Amazon initiative in Germany, Innovating Through Diversity. And that's where we normally partake. We partake in also in political discussions. I'm a member of an expert group on stuff like that. So we go different roads with that. So there's always kind of the part like where the more the leadership team is like in trying to write and help initiatives. On the political part of it, we're driving change on a more systematic approach, because that's the thing I was trying over the last years is like, as much as I want to encourage women to go their own path, if you run into a systematical problem, we have to address system change. And so that's kind of where we always go. So it's kind of the circles are literally what you think of circle. It's your home base. It's home away from home. It's where you feel safe and where you find everyone like your lean and sisters and brothers, because we have mixed circles. And it's kind of where you have like a support group. And then the chapters, we go more into topics. So we provide special resources, also resources in German. So that you can relate to that. And on the top level, kind of especially me and the team driving to drive also systematical and political change. So that's what we're kind of trying to go into, more systematic approach and joining forces with other kind of groups and initiatives to kind of go into a more systematic approach. Yeah, that's kind of the broad spectrum what we're doing.
Yeah. And I know that this is true across the globe, is that with Lean In, first and foremost, it's just great to get together with like-minded women and women who can support each other. And I know that I've shared this before on the show, that my Lean In group, we just, we get together and we have a mix of seasoned women in the workplace. And then we have the younger, I guess for another term, millennials or younger, and that are just entering the workforce. And it is just amazing to see them interact
Yeah.
and to connect and make those, organic mentoring, relationships and conversations happen, which is just priceless, because that's how we're gonna, move ahead. Is, we do need the men as allies, but we want to hear from the women who have been there, who may have those connections. If you don't have a sponsor, if you don't have a coach or a mentor, to have someone that can share those priceless bits of advice with each other is just, it's great.
And I think the priceless advice, and I think what is always the same reaction is out of every circle is, and I thought it was just my story, and I thought I was alone with that. I think that's one of the most recognitions we always have, like, because you literally still think that kind of your story is just your story and your struggle is just your struggle. And then you're sitting in a circle together with other women, and even sometimes men is like, no, it's the same for us too. And it's literally, I was there. And if you have and I was there probably 10 years ago, and you were probably 5 years ago there. And it's like, literally, I'm not alone anymore. And that's so helpful, because the most awful thing is if you think your story is a singularity, and then you start to blame yourself on, what did I do wrong? No, you didn't do anything wrong. And I think that's one of the most powerful things, to have that feeling of, I'm not alone with my story anymore. And it's a story, as annoying it is, people have been there before, and we try to overcome that.
That's good. Yeah, true. What's the best business advice you've ever gotten, or any great advice for that matter?
I think it isn't even a business advice. It came to be a business advice, but it was the advice my grandmother gave me. And my grandmother was a very, very, very tough woman. If you think I'm tough nails, you cannot met her anymore. She's already dead but you would have, my grandmother was tough as nails. There was a reason why we call it the general, in all loving nature. But she said something, and nobody wants to go against her. And my grandmother had a very, very hard life and had very much struggles on that. But she gave me the advice, no matter what life throws at you, you can make something out of everything. And not like that there's good in anything. That was not the sign, but that you can make something out of everything. And that stuck with me. My dad also enforced that, and my mom later on too, and that you can make something out of it. We have a term in Germany which is called Trümmerfrauen. Said were the women who built up Germany after the Second World War. So out of ashes, built them up again. And my grandmother was one of these. And that's kind of the spirit she installed in me. It's no matter what life's throwing at you, you have to make it. It's not like it will not change why you think there. You have to make it, but you can make something out of everything. And for every step of the move I took, and I have now my life always sounds like a little bit daisies and roses, which wasn't. There was a hell lot of stories. I went down the road with everything. So I tried everything, and I tried from burning money in a company to a lot of money. So it's not like daisies and roses over my career of the last 25 years. Hell no. But getting to the point, okay, I have to make something out of that. That always helped me out of everything. It will take sometimes longer, sometimes it's immediate, but you can make something out of everything. It's possible. And that's kind of the advice my grandmother gave me, and that stuck to me till today, and will probably till the end of my day.
Yeah, I love that. That's really good advice. Really good advice.
Yeah, she was a very wise woman, a very wise woman. And the best.
I would have loved to have met her. Yeah. I bet she had more than that bit of advice. I bet she had some more great nuggets of truth.
Yeah. But that's the one that always stuck with me the most. Out. And that's I literally hear your voice. If I'm in a position where I'm literally probably on the floor crying, I hear the voice of my grandmother. I'm it's okay, do that. But now you have to make something out of that. And literally my head, I'm okay, good. Okay, good.
Yeah. And it's so true right now. I mean, I'm not sure when this will release, but we're in the midst of the pandemic, and the COVID-19 and being in quarantine. I mean, but I feel like people are going to use this time for the greater good, for good stuff. I mean, I think good things are going to come out of it. Obviously, it's not been a great, it's been a horrible time as well for people who've been sick and who have passed, and the loved ones that have left behind. But I feel like those of us who have been hunkering down and just, there are going to be lots of books being written, lots of great music, and some, businesses are brewing and coming up. So, yeah, make something out of everything. Yeah. I love that. Yeah. So, Barbara, what are some things that you're loving these days? And I share this with everyone. I ask everyone, like, what are you loving these days? Some things that are making your life easier or that you're just enjoying?
I think that's one thing, and people always like, okay, that's not a big surprise. I'm a big book nerd, so I read a hell lot of books a year. But not normally I don't read like classical stuff and not so much literature, like more the scientific stuff. So I love my Kindle Unlimited subscription. I'm a die-hard fan for that. I'm a die-hard fan for that. If you don't have one, grab yourself one. It's the most fun thing you can enjoy. Because like literally, like even if you like, I'm reading at least one book a week, like from the scientific standpoint, and normally then another book like on more broader topics. And then there's like the book you need when you go to the bathtub or sitting on your terrace. And Kindle Unlimited is providing I love my Kindle Unlimited subscription. So that's a survivor for many years, and it doesn't matter if you're hankering down at home or traveling the world, if I would normally be on already would be catching another flight. So it's a great tool. I love my Kindle Unlimited.
Which Kindle do you have is it like the Paperwhite or whatever?
I have the Kindle Paperwhite. I highly recommend Kindle Paperwhite. Get yourself one. Get your Kindle Unlimited subscription. And if you don't have so I have also the Kindle app on my phone. So depending on how much something is charged or where I'm going, both things work beautiful.
You
so
can
Unlimited and get yourself a Kindle Paperwhite. It's perfect for literally for every life situation, no matter if you're running through an airport or sitting down in quarantine and enjoying a cup of tea.
Yeah, I have two books going at the same time. One just like an industry book or some type of like help book that's knowledge. Yeah. And then I have like what I call my fluff fun
the fluff stuff.
read.
You need the fluff stuff. You need a good love story or a good criminal investigation. You need something your brain just like, yay. Yeah, perfect.
Yes. Yeah. Anything else? What else are you loving?
I think two things, which if people know me a little bit or see my left arm, you wouldn't be surprised what's coming up next, because I have tattooed on my arm coffee and confidence. So on my left arm is tattooed coffee and confidence. So no big surprise. The next two essential life things are two things: how to make a good cup of coffee. So the first step you need for a good cup of coffee is, of course, boiling water. But you don't use water boiling at 100 degrees Celsius. So please refer that into your American system. But you know what?
Yeah.
And it has to be 5 degrees Celsius less. So that's why I love my Russell Hobbs. Now it's down water kettle, because you can you can install the temperature. Yeah, it's great. And if you have a good cup of green tea, which is also the water is too high or too hot, you kill your extremely expensive green tea. I love that water kettle. It's literally life-saving for every time.
I had no idea that it mattered. I'm not a coffee drinker, but I'm a tea drinker. I had no idea it mattered how hot your water was. Yes. It makes sense, though, because if it's too hot, it ruins
the tea. No matter if it's tea or coffee, it's going to ruin your brew. So get yourself a water kettle where you can pump in the temperature. And that's literally an all-time favorite of mine. And if you invite me to your housewarming party, guess what I'm bringing?
Kettle. Good. Yeah. That's good. I love having like things that you do for everyone, like where you don't have to think. Yeah. It's like, this is what I bring for housewarming. This is what I give for a baby gift. This is what I give for a wedding present. Yeah. I love that.
And that's the water kettle with the temperature changing system. That's my housewarming gift. everyone gets
Nice.
one.
Nice.
And
I
coming
like that.
back, of course, like coffee at home is one thing, but there's a thing. And now I'm very sorry, US crowd, but your coffee is mainly awful.
Is it? See, I'm not a coffee drinker. I can't stand coffee, but
I know why Starbucks is that popular in the US. Because everyone else in all of Europe can brew a cup of coffee, and the US, I don't know what you're doing with your coffee, but it's awful. Over the last let's say 8 years, it's gotten better, but yeah, but it's an international problem. If you're sitting in a hotel and getting there a cup of coffee, it's always awful. It's literally always awful. So for many years now, I normally in normal times I'm traveling quite a lot. So I got myself a travel French press mug. So I have a travel,
oh,
which an included travel French press, either back for your tea or for your coffee. So because like the most hotels provide a kettle for hot water, and coffee you can travel, or tea you can travel, throw a little bit of stuff in your bag, and then you have your travel mug with the inside French press, and you never ever have to suffer through awful, horrible coffee in the morning in a hotel.
coffee. Ah, brilliant.
Yes.
That's brilliant. Just bring your own.
Yeah, just bring it.
See,
That's kind of, I'm always optimizing stuff. That's what
yes. What else is in your travel? What is another travel tip you have, like travel item that?
I think one of the travel items, literally packing cubes and compression packing cubes is an essential.
Yes.
Not the normal packing cubes, but literally the compression packing
ones.
cubes. These are great, and especially if you like going like just with your hand luggage or so, they are so easy and so good. Or just like if I'm like have like a 2-day travel, I just like get a bigger handbag, throw my stuff into a compression cube, and nobody sees that in my laptop handbag is my clothes for like 2 changes of night or so.
Yeah.
Perfect. So get yourself compression packing cubes. It's perfect. It's literally packing cubes, compression packing cubes.
Yeah.
Lifesaving.
This is not just regular, not just packing, because I see they're selling packing cubes, but the compression ones kind of seal and pull the air out, and then you zip it up.
Yeah, but you have like
So
just like double zippers, so you don't need like a vacuum or some, just like double zippers, and it makes it nearly tight. And normally they're waterproof, so even if you spit so you can throw it in a normal bag.
Spill something.
Yeah, but that's a lifesaver. That's literally if you're traveling and short to long term, it's a great thing to go. So compression packing cubes are good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Barbara, thanks so much for coming on. This has been so much fun to get to hear a little bit more about you, and I love hearing about your grandma. That was so fun. And thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. It was great. It was always a nice chat. Thank you so much. I just love spending time with you. You know that.
Make sure that you subscribe to this podcast, or if you're listening on YouTube, hit that subscribe button to get all the latest podcasts from Rising Stories. You can also connect with us on Instagram. I'm at Corine Sandifer. Please consider supporting this podcast by purchasing products mentioned on the show. As an Amazon affiliate, Rising Stories podcast receives a small commission and helps us stay afloat. When you make a purchase using these links, that is at no additional cost to you. You can also visit our storefront to see all of the great things mentioned on past shows and some of my favorite items as well. Music is by Ben Sound. Thanks again for listening, and keep rising in your story.